welcome everybody. It is Tuesday. We are starting a little bit early today. Special guest Craig Hansen. Special in that we're going to shift a little bit here on the typical Tuesday traces. We're most times focused on pressure and the traces that we see from using the technology. Well, this week we're going to focus on lines for sure.
Definitely, yeah. We're going to be looking at,
and Craig is going to walk us through a lot of averages of movement, right? I don't want to spoil everything here, but we're going to draw a lot of lines with Craig today. So, Craig, before you get going, I'm going to cut you off because I know once I get you going, it's going to be hard for me to get kind of back in there. So, again, a little housekeeping. We are recording the session. We'll post to YouTube Live, not YouTube Live, but to YouTube probably within the week. Before I introduce myself, just a quick reminder to our audience. We do have our summer summit. It's a mouthful, right? At the Butch Harmon Academy. That's going to be August 16th and 17th. So if you're interested in attending, you can ask a question here on the call, or you can send us a note. I'm sure Kelly will be posting some things here either in the channel or sending some more emails out on how you can attend as an instructor. If you are attending, we are, and I'll let Kelly post some more details there. She's already doing that. We are, everyone is eligible for PGA or LPGA credits. Like I said, Kelly will send out some more details on that. Just a little bit about me. So, cause I'm not on here, Craig, every week, right? It's always Mandy. There's huge disappointment across, all the attendees right now. So, but I think, we'll have a great time here. You and I talk for the most part once a week at least, right? So this should be fun. For those of you that don't know me, we haven't met at past PGA shows or through other interactions. Mike Brown, Director of Sales. I also oversee the Great Lakes region or our North Central. So if you're in Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, great state of Iowa, I'm here to help, right? So please reach out, and I'll be I'll be visiting Chicago in a couple of weeks to visit a few customers. So I think, as Craig knows, I didn't really come from industry like Mandy did. I did grow up working at Oakland Hills, a top 20 course and a customer of ours. So that's as close as I got to industry. And I'm for sure an amateur player, right? So that's a little bit about me. But our guest today, Craig Hansen, who is a long time user of V1, probably 20 years, close to that. I'll let Craig share some more. And I mentioned, as a user of 20 something years, Craig, V1's been around for 26 years.
Yeah.
Industry leader, supporting 10,000 instructors around the world, delivering 4 million digital lessons since its inception. So we're pretty excited. I'm tempering my excitement here, and I don't get very excited, right? But we have some really fun stuff coming as a company, and I know instructors like yourself, Craig, have been incredibly busy during, I'll say, these times. I think obviously we all know on this call, golf has been one of the industries that's benefited. It doesn't always feel like a good word to use these days, but it is the case. And so while you guys have been heads down delivering lessons, supporting your students, we're also heads down on what's next here at V1. And so I think I'll say to the audience that is listening today, there is some fun stuff coming, so stay tuned. But with that, Craig Hansen, tell us, about yourself. Mandy, as you've seen her run these sessions before, webinars, she loves to ask the question of, tell us something we don't know about you, right? So it's an uncomfortable question for some just know the answer right away. What's your answer?
My answer, well, that would be I play pretty good acoustic guitar. So I've probably got a handicap of 1 or something. I started really, really young. And when I was on tour, I used to travel with my golf clubs and my guitar. So that would probably be something that not many people know about me. So
that was to keep, is that your way of just making friends, keeping yourself busy, get away from the game?
I think so. I think it was also playing guitar up on the coast of Queensland in the evenings. Sometimes you could have a lovely conversation with a young lady when you were single. That was also was a part of the deal. But I think sportsmen sometimes they use a little bit of the right side of the brain, don't they? So they a lot of them actually play a little bit of guitar and things like that. So it's not uncommon. But I unfortunately haven't had that much time in the last year or so to play. But yeah, that's one thing.
So you make a living as an instructor. For years you did play competitively, correct?
Yeah, I played. I'm in Germany now, and I'm from Australia, and I played. I played for many years on the Australian tour and in Asia and in New Zealand, about 7 or 8 years. And then when I got around the age of 30, I had been teaching before that, and then I came across to Germany, and I've been here for close on 20 years. Working really hard. I worked then on the Australian tours and different tours teaching professional golfers. So I had a fantastic experience there teaching some remarkable players, and through that, I had the pleasure of meeting people and spending time with Peter Cowan and Sean Foley and many of the world's best instructors. And I've always been the type of person to ask a whole bunch of questions. So I've drilled many of the world's best and gathered a whole bunch of information over the years. Yeah.
So tell us maybe a little bit more about what you're in Germany, but tell us what you're working on these days. Like, what does your day look like? What are these things, these projects you're working on?
Yeah, working harder than a one-armed bartender. I have to say, I've been really, really busy. So I pretty much work for 6 days a week. I work from like 9 in the morning till 8 at night, completely booked out. 6 days a week, and in between those busy times, I do lots of YouTube videos, and I created world-class golf instruction over the last 2 or 3 years, especially through the COVID time, not being able to get back to Australia. So I've got a platform, a program with over 1,000 videos, where we're really sort of showing people how to teach themselves, how to use their mobile phones to film their swings. We've got biomechanics, we've got TrackMan stats, we've got obviously the V1 Pro Studio, we've got all sorts of different levels of golfers, advanced coaching for the club golfer, and that's been incredible. The feedback has been just simply overwhelming, and getting more and more people on the platform and improving people. That's the thing that's been really interesting. Sort of using a little bit more evidence-based material rather than the video where you stand in front of the camera and say you should do this, you should do that.
Right.
We show then the top players and trying to get people closer to these positions, and the closer that they get, the better they hit. And it's just the stories that we're getting back from the people on board and the improvements that we're seeing and hearing. It's been really.
Yeah. What's your saying? The closer what?
Yeah, the closer you get, the better you hit. Yeah,
right?
And
yeah.
The further away you are, the worse you hit it. So, which we'll go through, obviously coming up, which is very, really, really, really interesting when you're looking at filming your swings and sort of really what to look at.
So tell us. I think you mentioned world-class golf. I guess tell us a little bit about. I mean, how did that just start from you doing videos? What was that kind of? How did that all come together? And just said, you know what, I'm gonna. So the concept, if you haven't been on the site, if our audience hasn't been on the site or haven't found you yet, and you have quite a following on YouTube, so it might be, they might have already seen you, but if they haven't, what is that, I guess process? How do you get started? Why am I joining? And then maybe share a little bit about how you're using V1 within that process for a student, with World Class.
I came up with the idea. I was at a friend's house actually in Australia, and I was just watching a YouTube video, and I was just looking at it thinking that sort of can't help anybody, right? And I don't mean to be rude, but I just sort of decided I'm going to start doing my own videos, and then I started putting them together. It was like a library. I knew, and I had this world-class golf instruction. I had this name in my head, and I started to just do a whole bunch of videos, but I wasn't putting them in YouTube. I was just saving them up, and doing hundreds and hundreds, and it took me months. It took me literally months and months to get a library through, and then we built this platform, and then I started releasing more stuff in YouTube, and it's just recently really started to gather a lot of momentum, getting more and more. And so we get people to go to the platform, and there's sometimes they like the videos, the YouTube stuff so much, and they can see the potential that they join immediately, or they can get in there and have a look at a free, like a free video series, and just to get the trust of it all. And
Sure.
And it's there's so many different series and things in there, which I think appeals to sort of, if you're slicing it, if you're blocking it, if you're advanced play, you're flipping it, you're not getting the lags. And we're showing sort of a little bit more, as I said, the evidence-based material and the inner workings of it, which is, I think cool.
So I think that's a good way to get us going here. So we'll cover like how you're using V1, right? And with your students, I think, talking a little bit more about world class and how you're helping students from afar, but I think also how you're teaching, using V1 with your students. And gosh, Craig, when I first met you, you were really using, it was mobile, right? That was the platform you're using the most, and then you'd bring that content back inside, I'll say, right? And then use the desktop or the studio version, right, at that point. And now you're set up with our high-speed cameras, right?
Yeah.
And you're pairing. So I don't want to play spoiler here, right? So
that's an amazing, really a remarkable system. And I'll tell the people some of the things that happened there throughout the year, getting just huge improvements from customers from people that you've seen for a lot of years, and you think that they're stuck at a level. But this V1, this double camera system, the high-speed camera system with the screen on the ground, it's just been absolutely remarkable. So we'll go into that. Should I?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's a good way. I think you start with whatever you want to start with, Craig, in terms of sharing how you use V1 from an instructor perspective, because audience today we've got some instructors listening in. We do have some golfers, right? So I think both parties are looking to hear some of your best practices for sure. So,
all right. Well, we'll start it off. Okay, so. And obviously, when we're looking, I'll just get across to should I start with the double camera system?
I think starting here, Craig, I think gives some good context of how you teach how to record yourself.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this is one of the clips that we use on World Class Golf Instruction. So we're getting people in there to sort of get the idea of, how to film this. We've got hundreds and thousands of people around the world filming this swing. We're getting into the millions now, and it's going to get more and more. And people have become a little bit self-reliant there, and that's sort of the reason. This is just one of the devices, looking at how to set up your phone. I've had a few people send me their online lessons. They use this thing; it clips into the ground. You've got this little holder that goes over your golf club here. You've got attachments that click onto your bag, and my personal favorite is sort of. I'll just move this over. Is this, you got your tripod, which is these lightweight tripods, right? You can just fold them up, so small.
And it seems like funny we're talking about how to get set up, but I think that's that's the hard part, is getting set up, right? And then once you find out how to get it set up and record in the same spot every time, right, then you can just go. But I know you're showing a couple different ways to go about that.
I think
is that a question you get a lot from your user base?
I think they think it's difficult until they realize how easy it is, like just how quickly you can do it. And when you get sort of the basic idea of what you're looking at in a golf swing in motion, then I get emails back saying, "Oh, thanks so much." I mean, what good player doesn't film their swings? You just don't. I've been out on the tours. I've been on all the tours. You just don't see anyone, unless you've got probably John Daly or, Bubba Watson or something like that. But you've got Jordan Spieth, you've got McIlroy, you've got everybody filming their swings, even just before they hit off. And it might not be that they're thinking a lot, but they're just checking things. We play good for a couple of weeks, right? Normally, and things sort of slip into your setup or whatever. So to maintain yourself when you're out there, it's
That's really interesting. So you said something there that are those players, say on tour, are they recording all the way up to almost their round? Is that what you were saying there?
Plenty of them, you see that. You'll see Patrick Reed, you see Spieth doing it, you see right up. I've seen when Spieth won the Australian Open a couple of times, I think, maybe it's just once. He'll do it actually just before it, like 3 minutes before he goes to the putting green, those last couple of minutes before he jumps to the tee. And everybody's doing it. And it doesn't mean you're thinking technically. It's just sometimes you just get that little, you're seeing something that's positive, or you're checking something, or, the coach holds the player up to the phone. I know that I was on tour there for a couple of years before COVID, assisting Peter Lonard, who's won on the PGA Tour and Australian Open a whole bunch of times, Australian Masters, and he would really like to see his swing a lot and get it checked just before hitting off. So, yeah, it's just the people probably think it's too difficult, and it's not a lot of thinking. It's really a great way to do it. Yeah.
Interesting.
So when you look,
yeah, go ahead. Once you're set up, what's next here?
Yeah, I think the direction is a little bit of a thing. And no matter whether you're experienced or not, you sort of need, just get it through this, there's a couple of lines here. You probably need, if I'm filming my swing by myself, I like to have so I'm a bit pretty experienced. I do a fair few videos and things, but you get it wrong, if you're not careful. So I like to get a club down and get that directly across from the middle of your chest, the phone. And, it's around hip height. You're pretty good at around hip height, which is something. And from there, if you get across too far to this side, you'll get the appearance that the ball's set up to the right and back in your stance. And if you get it up a little bit on the other side, they're a little bit exaggerated, but
Sure.
You get the appearance. So to get your cameras, everyone, even professionals, have to, if you're hitting balls by yourself, you have to get sort of consistent in what's happening with your camera. You've got to get it set up correctly. The back view, getting a couple of clubs in here. I don't know if you can see the kangaroos there in the background. All right, so we got a line here, and sort of to get you, see that the lens is sort of set up on the hand line. And if you can get close to that, it's important, because if you do set the camera up a little bit on this side, you'll have the appearance that you're taking it on the inside. And if you set it up a little bit behind you here, you get the appearance that the club's going on the outside. So just to set them up with a couple of clubs on the ground and stuff like that, some people get really particular and set it up the exact distance away. That doesn't matter as long as you've got your lines consistent. Yeah. So that's that.
So yeah, I don't know if we've covered. We've done 40 or so of these Tuesday traces. I don't know if we've got it as granular as this in terms of recording, but it's super important context, right? You're not going to get better if you're not set up properly. So,
That's true.
and you need the kangaroos. That's what it comes down to. So, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'll take you through a couple of things. One of the things here, so look, what I love about this V1 Pro system, what I really love, and it's great for, is when I get people playing well, right, my customers hitting it really, really well, I save their swings in this system, and it's only a matter of time before it doesn't matter who we are, then we're not hitting it that great. And when you go back and you've got their swing saved, it's almost like you've got the power, you know what I mean? But it's important that somebody saves it. But they'll come back to you a lot of the time. And when you film the swings, I can guarantee you, Mike, when you put your swings up and they're playing well and then compare it when they're not playing well, you will see either a difference in the setup, or you will see one of their tendencies has taken over their swings. And it's a great way to help people, but bring your customers back. Now, when we'll have a look at, where will I start it off? We'll start it off at probably, we'll go into the entry of the ball. All right, we'll have a look here at sort of when we look at averages of movement, when we're looking at top players. This is probably the end result a little bit when we're looking at coaching people. As funny as it may sound, I use TrackMan. I've got TrackMan, I've got FlightScope, I've got both actually. I'm using the V1 Pressure Mat, and I'm using Biomechanics as well. And but if I had a choice and I had to pick one, I would pick a high-speed camera and I would pick this now with everything that I know, and I would pick this V1 Pro system. It's just hands down the best way. And so let's have a look at a few of these world-class golf swings, and we'll have a look and see where they are. And we'll just go at this stage. We're just going to have a look at the entry and coming into the golf ball. All right. Now we'll go through a few here. We'll have a look at this. Is what's her name? Nelly Court. I think that's her name. Look at this club face here. And you can zoom in and you can see exactly wrist alignments and all sorts of things in. Now that club face position there, this is what we're seeing over and over again. And if you're using your TrackMans and you're experimenting around with some of these positions, it really is extremely interesting. I'll just take you through. This is actually a mobile phone here. A guy that I teach from California who's called Dodge Kemmer, who had his Asian tour car, but obviously since COVID, that sort of closed down, plays around Europe, plays sort of Japan, and plays a lot of different places. See that club face coming in that same position. Now, I've been doing a lot of tests with video and looking at TrackMan, really interesting, and looking at this position here and how close you can get to really low numbers. We'll go through a few more because I think it's really important to notice. There's Snedeker club coming in behind the hands.
So you're using the video as evidence support what you're seeing in TrackMan, or what's that process there of how you're using the TrackMan and video together?
Sometimes as certain players, what we've done is when they're some of the tour pros who sometimes can't afford a TrackMan, a lot of the time when I've filmed it with them and we show some of the numbers and we show where they need to be through video, and they're setting their phones up perfectly, and they get a very good gauge of, if they don't have a TrackMan, they're getting a very good gauge of where they need to be in and around impact. But the point being in this part of the video here is when we see this entry coming into the ball, I mean, all golfers, regardless of your skill level, need to sort of understand that you're trying to get yourselves, into this sort of position here. Now, if I can get this thing.
Yeah. And this is one of, Craig, you always talk about with me about there's a few, everybody has a unique swing, but everybody, there's parts of the swing that are fairly consistent with really good players. Is this one of those that
there needs to be a little bit more commonality out there, right? So when you're looking at the best coaches in the world and you talk to them, in 2015, one of my players, Nick Cullen, he won the Australian Masters, and in 2016 we went to the World Golf Championships, and I ran into Peter Cowan on the driving range there, and I got a photo with him, and I was standing there talking with him, and he pulled a club out of Charles Schwartzel's bag without even asking, right? We're just standing there. And for about 40 minutes, we've just gone through the golf swing. And all of a sudden I turned around and Sean Foley was there. And so we had a conversation. And the next day, Peter Cowan walked past and I made a bit of a joke. And he was with Stenson. I don't know why I said it. He was just walking past. And I said, Peter, if you need some help this week, I said, I've got my camera here. Right. And he burst out laughing, saying that to Peter Cowan. And then during the week, we sat down, had lunch and all that. And by the end of the week, he actually said to me, look, he'd never have had anyone ask him that many questions before in his life, apart from Sean Foley. And I got down with Sean Foley, and Foley was showing me a lot of stuff with the V1 and the angles and the lines. And they were talking about, you're getting confirmation, and they were talking about the main things in the golf swing where you need to look. And a lot of it's when you're looking at the shoulder planes and you're looking at the entry into the ball. So like here's McIlroy, right? So when you have a look at, this entry back once again into the golf ball, it's the same sort of thing, right? And when you have a look at Robert Rock, what a golf swing this is. So I'll show you a couple of club golfers. So the closer you get to these positions, the better you're going to hit it. You're not going to hit it bad, right? This is evidence-based material. This is a fact. And the public can do this with their mobile phones, right? So you're getting up on this side here. Now, it's a repeating theme. There's Tiger Woods. So you're going to see the same. This camera angle is just a little bit out. There's a touch of camera movement. You see that line slip into the ball. But once again, you'll see that club come in slightly behind the hands. And it's on this side of 12 o'clock. Now, what do you need here to golf ball straight, right? If you've got nice clothes on, that's great, but it's not going to work. And positive thinking doesn't work all the time as well. So you need to get your low point right. You need to get the path right. And you need to get the face right. And if you get these three things right, you're going to be pretty happy with yourself, right? Now, but that's the thing, unfortunately, what we're seeing a lot of the time, and this is the thing, people are out there, hitting that many golf balls, but they don't actually know you know, they're coming down from sort of angles. Like if I put up a line up over the ball, here's what I do. I say to people, we're learning really up to 50% visually. And it's important to show people, like, I mean, if that's a wall over the ball here, this is what I sort of say to people, you're crashing into the wall. Now you can see that club face is not coming in over this direction. And it's about 12 degrees from the outside on TrackMan and things like that. And the other thing, one of the major, I suppose, the biggest thing that we're seeing in world golf is even if they bring it down a lot of the time correct, the face is way open, right? And if you see that face there, people, there's millions and millions of golfers in the world doing that, and they don't know. And that's a shame, right? Because you can clean these positions up. That from there, that's open. You're going to flip it. You're not going to have any shaft lean, and then hitting fat shots and thin shots. And this is what I've sort of brung, you know, helping people understand a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to cut you. So Craig, if I'm a golfer listening in here, so what are some of those common positions that they should be focusing on, right? So you're showing this here. You've got shoulders. You've got shaft lean. Right? What's the?
Yeah, that's the end. That's the goal. That position there, right? But when we sort of look at some of the major movements too.
And sorry if you were getting there, Craig. Right, but
no, that's all right. So we'll have a look. We'll have a look at sort of lateral movement, right? And we'll have a look at, say, what you would probably, when you have a look at the averages of lateral movement, right? So we know from biomechanics, we know it's a fact. We know that there's 10 to 15 centimeters of lateral movement in this direction, right? That's on average. So you've got to look at averages. Now, a lot of people say, oh, the swings are all different, but no, they're not, right? If you've got an exception to the rule, like someone like Dustin Johnson or something like that, okay. But when you're looking at the normal golfers, right, when we're getting in to impact, we've got half of the lead leg through this wall. You're looking around 5, 6, 7, 8 iron, right? And you get into impact. And this is just after impact, right? So you get a portion of your shoulder through that wall. But you can see one of the things that's important to notice is this position here. All right, now this is the entry. See, in the middle of the left hand's under the chin, right? And I've got a right angle there. Now, there's a position here. The less angle that we have, right, once it starts to get over 30 degrees, the less angle that we have, the quicker it touches the ground, the more that we hit it fat, the more that we hit it thin, right? So when you get into sort of looking at the averages of shaft length, you're generally going to see around 11, sort of 12 degrees of shaft length at impact. So there's 78 degrees, 90 being 0. So your shaft length here. Now, your lateral movement will influence also your shaft length. The more lateral movement that you have, the more shaft length that we have. Now, what we're seeing with, you know, a lot of I'll just take you through a couple there because it's important just to sort of get an understanding of what's actually happening. I'll show you Tiger Woods. So we'll get a line up from this left leg. We'll just move quickly through a few. And we'll see a bit lateral shift, almost half the left leg through the wall. And we're getting into around impact. And sometimes you'll see a bit more. There's about 14 degrees of shaft lean.
What do you usually see? I mean, top, you know, good players, right? Good club players or pros. Are you between 10 and 14? Like what's the number?
I said the ones that really, really rip it. Otherwise, the ones that they, you know, you hear that sound on the club head, we just turn around. You're probably seeing around 14, 15 degrees of shaft lean. And yeah, I've never ever seen anyone hit pure iron shots with 5 degrees of shaft lean. I filmed around 40,000 swings and I just haven't seen it. So there's Adam Scott. I mean, that if you see this guy hit a golf ball, you just can't. There's 16 degrees, right?
And you're to monitor, I'll say, shaft lean with your players, you're only using V1 for that, correct?
Yeah, you can just, and it's exactly the same. I had a really good conversation with Dr. Robert J. Neal, who's, you know, one of the leading biomechanics specialists. I've had Skype calls with him. I've sent some of my players to him. And recently also on a podcast, he said it as well, that when he's putting his sensors on the shaft, that this system is exactly the same. It's just an angle, right? So the angle's spot on. And so there's 17 degrees shaft lean. That's McIlroy. And so when you're seeing, you know, biomechanics as well, when you're looking at, tilts and turns, and you can estimate, you can get right in there really, really closely. Now, I mean, there's in my swing here, and we'll go through that. So, put a line up here, and we'll sort of see that down and in the impact a little bit. We've got about 11 or 12, there's 12 degrees in the left leg. So that position there, what a lot of the things I do, we actually look at the right leg, as well. And we're seeing where that's positioned. And as I said, the closer you get to these positions, and look, the players that are less skilled might only be able to get it to here, but it's better than here, and they start here. I'll show you a couple of club players where they are, right? So you'll probably see, this was earlier this year, and looks a bit rough, but it was pretty cold, but you can sort of see it impact there. This swing's not too bad when you look at it, but when you slow it down, it's not that flash. So you can sort of see the club scraping across the ground here. There's no shaft lean, 1 degree, no lateral movement. And that's the repeating theme that we're seeing. I'll just show you something because I think, looking at club golfers, and there's really no, and once again, not much shaft lean there. And there's just no pressure on the golf ball. And so this is where I wake up every night. As I wake up screaming when I say, no, I'm only kidding. But having a golf is a swing, a lot of them pretty much the same. And when you actually give them the concept of what's going on, you can see how quickly the club gets on the ground. So when you get a line under the chin here, they're into the 40-degree areas, unfortunately. And let me just show you that entry into the ball here once again. So what we're doing, you see the angles are not quite there. Now, when you have a look at certain professionals, and this is Jimenez, right? This guy absolutely rips it. I saw this guy hit golf balls once. I couldn't believe it. He hits it. He was hitting it both ways and whatever you want. But it's a player or a professional that doesn't have a whole lot of lag. All right. So when he gets this club down sort of under the chin, it's a pretty wide angle, right? 30 degrees. You don't see that very much. But to balance that out, see how he's got 3/4 of his left leg through the wall?
So interesting, right? So other players, right? You're seeing that 90 where he's going against the grain there on the theory, but he's compensating it with other parts of a swing.
And this is where you can have some really serious improvement when you're looking at club golf. So here was a guy that came to me just recently. I'll show you this. He was a decent player. I'll just click that back on here. And I think what we got here, 2 different setups. I'll just move our thing here. So have a look at this. So this was a guy, we've dropped his handicap down a fair bit recently. So, but this was the first lesson. This was within a couple of golf balls. So he was hitting it high in the face and sort of not hitting it solid. And I changed his setup a little bit. So you can see he's up against the wall just a little bit more, which is a good thing to do for, like, if you're like Adam Scott and you've got, 10 inches of lateral movement, that's okay. But most club golfers don't. So you want to get them, with their iron shots up close to the wall to get that immediate sort of better contact. And when you get into impact, this is just after impact, but there's not a whole bunch of shaft lean. What number have we got there?
So if you go to that, the capture on the left, right, this is where he was struggling to get through the quote unquote wall.
Yeah, the one on the right. And then the one on the left, I got him just to, which a basic thought was to get his right knee sort of moving and pushing towards the target. All right. And then we managed all of a sudden to get a whole, we got 10 degrees of shaft length. And the sound of the shots, better mistakes, smaller mistakes, narrower mistakes. I mean, that's what golf's all about, if you're hitting better bad shots, because we're always hitting bad shots. And this sort of type of move helped this guy out a lot. That was a little bit early on. We got him down from a handicap of 4 down to 0 now, which has been.
So the closer you get, the better you hit and better bad shots. All right, so we're keeping track.
There's Nelly.
We can steal those.
That the ladies don't do it, but I mean they can and they should, and you can get them in. Look at that, 15 degrees, left leg through the wall. And that right leg down here, under 70 degrees. So there, from your swing geometry side, this is where the V1 Pro system it's just absolutely remarkable. So you're getting your shaft lean, you're teaching people how to bring that club down. And I mean, it's that's what we have on World Class Golf Instruction.
So I think that's a good, you mentioned the wall, right? The quote unquote wall. And you showed me a drill at one point of pushing off that wall, I think, right? I think which I think that drill addresses what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I'll get that one out. It was sort of looking at, I think I've got that. Where have I got that? It was this, there was this move here where I think for a lot of the general public, they struggle with getting a, separation. When you film that many swings as I have, they have a bit of trouble separating the bottom half to the top half. So this move here, you put your arms up against the wall. You don't stand that far away from it, and you slide your hands down the wall, and you're looking at exaggerating move. I love that comment that Volley always says, that exaggeration management. It's such a great sentence. And so you see how you can get this lead leg to move, but you keep your hands on the wall, and it sort of keeps your top half a little bit more passive. And you can get a real stretch up that side. Well, you don't need a wall, right? You can stand there and do it without a wall, but sure, this is the sensation that I use for a lot of the people. And, you're looking at sort of different drills and exercises. I will show you an exception to the rule when we're looking at someone like Dustin Johnson, because even though he's set up way away from the wall and he doesn't get to the wall, right? And this is where I think it confuses a lot of people. But at impact, he's got a 3-iron here. I'll just come back, and he's got that club's coming down, like he hits it. That's got 20, or that's got 19 degrees of shaft lean without getting through the wall. Now, if Dustin got through the wall, he'd probably have his shaft here. Now we know he hits it out extremely low. I think what does the 3-iron come out at? I think it's 10.4 or something. And I think this one's, we know he hits a pretty low flight. I think this one's coming out at around 8. Yeah, so I mean, that's an exception to the rule. But you're not, if you're seeing people with tremendous amounts of lag at certain times, you're going to see some differences. But there's not, I mean, swings like this, people can't do that anyway, really, when you sort of see that. I mean, who's going to?
Yeah, you just did something there with the launch angle, right? And I think it ties into, you did a YouTube video maybe a month ago now about, you mentioned, if you don't have TrackMan, here's some things you can do, right? With whether it's, V1 or mobile or desktop. I think you were talking about launch angle within that post. I can't recall. Right?
Yeah, it was sort of like this sort of stuff. I'll show you what it is, because a lot of the time when you're looking at, hitting pitch shots, these low, I'll just share this screen. This is Brett Rumford. I had this guy won. He's one of the best short game players in the world. He's won 5 times European Tour and a whole bunch of Australia and everywhere. I had the pleasure of, spent a morning with him at the Australian Open and just picked his brain. We were there for about 2 hours. And so when you look at the pitching angle, right? So when you're looking at this flight angle, this low to medium standard type of pitch shot, right? If you're looking at your TrackMan numbers, you're going to be looking at an angle of attack at around 5 to 7 degrees. So it's pretty shallow. So you're skimming the grass. So you're getting more friction of the ball on the club face. You've got your launch angle coming out under 30 degrees and not much higher. You're having 12 to 18 degrees of shaft lean at impact. This is a fact. This has been tested by Dr. Neil, who's tested the best pitchers in the world. So you watch this ball take off. So that's about 29 or 28. And Mike, I test all of this on TrackMan, and I can guarantee you're getting the same numbers. Now, when you have a look at that, you got 17 degrees of shaft lean, right? And from here, you're going to get this, if you can get this in without a lot of divot, and if you can hit this thing really from the inside, same thing from this side here, you're hitting it from the inside with shaft lean, and you get your pitch shots, you get your body turning nice, and you bring this club in behind the hands, and you're going to hit some pretty amazing. So there's not much divot, but there's shaft lean. So it's hit from the inside with shaft lean, and this is a great way to get you that standard video.
Yeah, you mentioned hit from the inside. What do you mean specifically? You're making that point with the pitch?
It's sort of it's that same thing here, bringing this club head in behind the hands. That would be level with the hands, and this would be in front of the hands. So if you can get this club head coming in behind the hands on your video, and you're getting your shaft lean, you know, a lot of the time there's more to it, but I mean that's going to give you a pretty good understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, so sorry for the coaches out there that I absolutely know what Craig's talking about here, but probably asking that more for the golfers, right?
We've got like on World Class Golf Instruction, we've got an advanced. I've put an advanced pitching series, which is really interesting when we're looking at you know, the TrackMan numbers and looking at spin and getting, you know, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 revs on the ball, looking at, you know, different equipment and yeah, some of the fancy numbers that a lot of people like to use, but it is a different motion, yeah, and there's probably too much to explain here, but you're going to be seeing these players. This is a top amateur player that I used to love. He doesn't live in the part of Germany where I am now, but I used to love watching this guy pitch. It was so pure, and you can see he's actually probably, I think he's coming out a bit, he's 27 or so. He's coming out a bit lower there, but that shaft lean, once again, you know, bringing that into 15 degrees, turning that chest. You know, I think one of the things is important to keep the chest moving, which lifts up the shoulder. And a lot of these guys, when they get into this finish position, I think this is what fools people a little bit, is when you have it. Dr. Neil did an amazing pitching series, and one of the best that I've seen for instructors. You see the head move forwards, and then it's almost they extend back up. So they're not getting the top half, you know, in front of the belt buckle. And this is a great way to lift up the handle, because if you've got that much shaft lean and you're moving too far forwards with your head, you'll dig it into the ground. But to get that shaved grass contact with the low flight and heaps of spin, you know, that's an incredible. It's one of the most amazing shots in golf when you start to get closer to it, you know, because for a lot of club golfers, that 30 meter or 30 yard, 40 yard, 50 yard, 20 yard pitch, it's actually quite a dangerous one, right?
So yeah, Craig, I think, you know, before we run out of time, and I think we're about 15, 20 minutes left, I think sharing how you're monitoring your students, you know, through using V1, you're using the swing banking, right? You're capturing some of their best swings so they can go back, like when they aren't playing well, we've captured when they are playing well. How are you, I know recently, you know, you shifted to a different way of using V1 with the 2-camera system. You know, how are you helping students today in your studio using V1? Maybe, you know, so we've talked about some faults, or they're not getting in the right positions, right, to be able to hit it well. How are you helping them? Maybe you can walk, our listeners through some of that. That'd be great.
This has actually been, I really wish I had got it earlier. I mean, it's hands down. I can't believe the success that I've had with students this year. Yeah, even those guys that have been sort of stuck on a certain handicap, that they're good customers, you get along with them well, and they've been on a handicap of 6 or 4 or 8 or something for that long. And then I got this system. Now, I always film swings. I film swings with beginners. I film them from the first time they come in. People learn visually, right? That's the thing. But then you film and you go back outside, and you know, but this, with this big screen on the ground and the camera over here and a camera from the back view, I've been able to, you know, get them to look down into the monitor, to stay in posture and do training swings and practice swings, and then film it and play it back and say, it's not enough, do some more. So to make a change with their action, right? To give them that feedback that they're after, and they can't believe it. And it's, you know, it brings the customers back. But not only that, you're not standing out in the beating sun, you're not in the wind the whole time. It's not like I'm inside all day. But here's an example. I think this was the swing. And this is the guy, and he just came in. I said, have a look in there, because there's a mirror over here, and I just wanted to test him. And I said, look in the mirror, and because he moves his head around a lot, I said, look in the mirror and do a swing. So have a look at that, right? And so now he's up there, and he's out of posture. So, you know, to be able to look down and do a drill, I mean, that's what's real, right? Who's going to be swinging up there with their shoulders on sort of that plane? So yeah, we got him in there, and we started to, you know, hit some shots. Now he's looking at the monitor, and he could relate to that a lot better.
So
And
yeah, for those that don't have a right system, that the software acts like a mirror, right? So you've drawn lines. Now you haven't drawn lines on him here, correct? Right. So, but are there times where you draw lines, or you'll draw the wall, for example?
yeah, sure.
And
It's stuff like that where because it's helped my swing so much as well. I've, it helps my pivot. It helps. So I get in there and, I'm looking down at the screen there and I'm trying to get my pivot right, and I get a feel for it. And then you get in there and then you can hit a shot, right? And it's just a great way to get in there and really, it's just been amazing. And I just wish I had have got onto it a little bit earlier. I'll just show, like, here's a couple of clips of just because I teach really good players, but I also teach players that aren't that great. And, let's be honest, for a lot of coaches out there, those people,
we like to put ourselves in an average bucket, Craig. It's okay. You can just say they're average.
So I think this lady she came in this morning actually, and she said before we started, she's got the shanks and she's hitting huge sockets, and it was, it wasn't. So anyway, I got her in here. So that would be, I had her doing practice swings on that line, right? And then she moved over to the ball. So that's what she's seeing in the screen. And for me, look, to be honest, after filming that many club golfers that when they're not great players, I actually, a lot of the time, I don't get them to take it up the line. I do actually get them to take it slightly underneath this line. And they play a lot better. If they're not great players, the club will cross the line. The club crosses the line a little bit, because when it points this way, they tend to come back down that way. So when it crosses the line, it brings them more down from this direction. And this was within a few minutes, and this was the shank. And you can just see that. And she could see that. And then, she left. She's really, really happy. She's not hitting shanks. She's not a world beater, but, it's still a quick and easy way. And rather than standing outside and telling someone they're still coming from the outside, I had this guy the other day. This was interesting. He'd been to all these coaches, and I had him outside on the high-speed camera, and he was hitting through the ball, and he lost a lot of confidence. It was really stiff-legged, and he could see that chicken wing. Like, the guy played off, I think, 10 or something, even with that movement. He was really strong, heaps of speed. But I got him inside, and I had him looking down at the screen and doing a whole bunch of swings. And this is something that's really interesting to help your customers with. And what I do is I put up a line here, and I say, right, that's the finish line, right? And I want your right knee to hit that line before your hands do. And he's working on it. But when he's getting there, and you can see when he comes through the ball, see how it looks better, doesn't it? The head's rotating, the chest's rotating. And I got a WhatsApp message the other day, and he's been playing, much better golf. And so I'll just go through just a couple of them here, because we have them every day, the less skilled players. And here's the black roll I got up on the side of the leg there. I'll make it a little bit brighter. And this guy was, wasn't doing all that well. You probably see the action, but he was coming through. He had no room, and you can see that right foot. So we got the right knee to sort of move a little bit through the ball. There was the practice swing, and he's looking down in the screen. And once again, this is within a few minutes, he got through the ball much, much better compared to this one, where it's all sort of lifted up and the head's rotating. So it's been absolutely a game changer for me, Mike, this system, and for the students to learn visually. And I'm really, really happy that I got the system. It's been great.
So we've got about 10 minutes left, and we've got a couple questions. We'll hit on those. But I think, if you can touch on how you've mentioned some of the technology that you use. It probably depends on the student, is my guess. How are you using the pressure mat to, prove or disprove theories that you're working on with the student?
I use it a lot of the time for the less skilled players. When they don't have a lot of angle coming down, I try and get obviously more than 80% of their weight to the left, and that helps them. It helps them in their setup, getting that feedback, looking down into the screen and seeing what's happening there. And one of the things when I've used it a lot of the time is I tend to use it when players are hitting it nicely, and I'll have a look. And when they don't hit it nicely, we have a look and we just compare. Perhaps rather than all the time changing something, I'm looking at, what did you do with that shot? That was lovely. And now I've hit this one 20 meters left. And so I look around at different things here. I'll show you these two videos here. And I'll just put this over here. So I have a look at this player. And we'll move him into impact. Now this guy plays off, I think, -2 or something. He just came, I think, 3rd or 2nd in a big tournament. He's actually from Egypt and in and around impact here. If I can get this thing down over here. So this was a big pull shot, right? Now, if you can have a look at the one on the right, here's a big pull. Now, if you have a look at we've got 55% of the weight here into the front part of the foot, right? But on this side over here, if I can get that on there, we got 93%. So he's actually got here with the straight shot, heaps more weight into the front part of the foot. It's going against the grain, right? I know, but for a lot of players, it's surprising when I'm looking at advanced players. I'm really surprised a lot of the time how much weight that they have into the front part of the foot. I know that we see a lot of the time players with, a little bit more weight into the left foot, and the whole world thinks you have to do that. But to look at some of the advanced players, when you're seeing a lot of the time, you're seeing their heel up in the air. So I've been, this guy's actually been thinking about keeping his big toe or his toe on the ground. And it's something that Mark Bull from England, the biomechanics specialist, has been talking about recently as well. We're seeing so many players lifting up their front heel. Let's have a look at.
So that's interesting. I think so. For a really good player, you're just focusing on the shots that you said that were lovely, right?
Yeah.
That you hit well. If it goes against what, hey, if I'm going to start off with a student, I'm going to tell them, here's some things you're typically going to see, right? Weight's going to be back in your heel. Where in this case, he consistently hits it well when his weight is, right? You said up on his toe. So why change that? Is that what I'm hearing you say there? Okay.
This is the thing. So you got Scott Stallings here. Have a look at this. I mean, this guy's got, if you start to understand, I guess, the patterns a little bit, this guy's got, you got 93% or 92% of the weight here on the right foot of the impact with the drive, and you got 100% into the toe and 100% into the toe. Now, what are you going to do there? I think I remember I said to you, this guy rips it, right? If you have a look at the swing, you get an understanding of why he's doing it. Like if you change something there, you're pushing one screw in and 3 are coming out. So you got to sort of get there and go, well, why has he got so much weight right? Well, when you have a look at the action of what he's doing, when you have a look at how much lag and angle that he's got coming down, he's going to be throwing his head back a mile. All the pros, the heads dropping back anyway with their drivers, but look at the amount of angle that's coming into here, right? And so he's going to have to go back to get any loft on it at all. And he's got that left heel up in the air, which you're seeing so many players do. And I've got a couple of pros that I teach with the left heel in the air. And if it's not a mistake, unfortunately, I've had, people send online lessons, and one guy was trying to fix up his daughter's left foot because the heel was in the air. And when you do that and you keep their heel down, they'll pull the ball. Or if you're looking at taking all the early extension out, they can actually start to hit it worse. So sometimes, and that's what Peter Cowan and Foley said to me with these top players, you really, really got to be careful what you're doing, and especially also advanced juniors. Let them sort of understanding their pattern. Is it broken? Are you going to fix it? Or it's easy to mess things up.
So at one point we had and I'm not sure if I really understand the question. I'm hoping I know you're smarter than I am here with this stuff, right? So the question was, Craig, are there some aspects of the right-sided swing in your teachings? And I'm not sure I quite understand that question. So I was hoping you did. Are there some aspects of the right-sided swing in your teachings? And Joe, if you're still on the line, if you're still with us, maybe you can clarify your question a little bit for us. But
is that right-sided swing? Is that from Gary Edwin?
I don't know. So, anyways, that was one of our questions. I thought was interesting.
I think it is, and I think I know the right side. I think it's Gary Edwin, and Gary and me are very good friends and spent quite a bit of time together and discussing certain things in the swings. And from looking at the wall and looking at that lead side, that would have a little bit to do with Gary, but
yeah, Joe answered yes to your question.
Yeah, it would just be that lateral shift, but not sort of on the way back. I'll show you just quickly. We've got just a couple of minutes, because when you're looking at when you're looking at shoulder plane, well, I think I have to get back. You still there?
We're still here.
All right, just give me a sec.
You're good.
Can you see? You can't see my screen? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. So I'll just take you through. I'll come back. Hang on. Here, share screen here. All right. So we'll have a look here. We'll have a look just quickly at one of the most important aspects in a golf swing. All right. And this is where the V1 Pro, when we're looking at shoulder tilts. All right, let's have a look at some of these numbers. 42 degrees. Okay. And when you're moving through the ball, when you're looking at the averages of movement by these top players, they're extremely similar in these positions. There's Sam Snead at 55. Now you're going to be seeing these players, regardless of the height of their swing, regardless if the lead arm is low or the lead arm is high, you're going to be seeing numbers here that are almost absolutely identical. There's Lee Westwood with a low lead arm position and moving through the ball. And when the arms get around parallel on this side, you get in there and you have a look at some of these numbers. There's 54 degrees from this side. Now, I'll take you to Tommy Fleetwood, who's got a higher left arm position at the top. But when you have a look at the shoulder plane, all right, it's once again, you're getting absolutely, and this is some of the hallmarks of ball striking. And as I said, when you get closer to these positions, the better that you hit it. Now, this is a little bit steeper on the way through, but not a whole bunch. Now, when you're looking at improving ball strikers or getting someone to hit it better, when you see club golfers, this is where they are just about every single time. You're going to see them in the high 20-degree area. All right, let me get that line on properly. Now, everyone wants to get some pressure on the golf ball, right? Now, I've had people that have been talking about coming from the outside for that many years, and I've got them out of it in about 10 minutes. Now, if you can get this left shoulder down, watch what happens. He wants to press that ball out, but the shoulders are too flat. So he's going to tip everything over. And then when you're having a look at how that entry is, you need the right entry, you need the right club face, you need the right low point. And from here, we're having a nightmare. And it really is unbelievable, Mike, how many people around the world are actually swinging like this, and they don't even know they're doing it. Have a look.
So does it start with good posture? I mean, and you always good posture, right? Have to have it. But is that the trigger? Like, what's
if you get under 60 degrees though here, you're fine, right? That's the average. You're looking around 60 to 55 with your iron, 60 to 62 with your driver. It's really about just understanding that you can't feel this game all that well, regardless of how skilled that you are. When you're looking at top players and they lose their game, they don't know why. They can't feel it a lot of the time, right? You see Jordan Spieth slipping off, you're seeing players not hitting it well. And sometimes we need to go back and have a look at what was I doing when I'm hitting it well, or you need help. And you get these numbers, the closer you get, the better you hit. And it doesn't matter if you've got long arms. It doesn't matter if you've got short arms. I mean, you've got your different body types. So I've got that on World Class Golf Instruction with your endomorphs, your chubby people, your ectomorphs, your tall, thin ones, and your mesomorphs. You're looking at your athletic, and you're going to see, because of that, different styles, but you still got to have your low point, your shaft lean, and get the club face. The ball has to be hit. And this is what we're really helping so many people sort of understand with their own mobile phones and V1.
So we're up on time here. This has been awesome. Do you have drills in World Class or on your YouTube channel that address what you were just talking about there with that shoulder angle? Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great drill there. We've got lots of that stuff at World Class Golf, getting yourself into these positions and, getting in there and estimating these numbers. There's a drill there where you get your elbows, get in posture, get your elbows together and turn back and point the end of the shaft down. So it's about a half a yard outside the ball. And when you're looking at this shoulder plane, if you don't have the numbers, you're trying to, it's good to have them. That's the thing. And, you're trying to get maybe a yard across here. And there's plenty of drills and exercises. I think I had a video here. Where was it? But yeah, there was one I had on, I don't think, we've got all sorts of stuff like that where I'm showing people all sorts of different stuff they can do at home. And there's the advanced pitching series and things like that. So
I think that's a good spot there to mention. I mean, your YouTube channel is just filled with gems, right? So I know the team posted your YouTube channel, in the chat here, but if you just go Google Craig Hansen Golf YouTube, it's going to pop up as the first result. Spend some time there. I'll encourage you, if you're listening as a golfer, there's a lot of content. So either it better be a rainy day or you got a lot of time on your hands or it's a week off right from work. So I don't know. So Craig's putting a lot of content out there. Craig, thank you for the time today. 20 years of support, for our company. So thank you for that. And I know it's weird. Our relationship has been, virtual. I am passive aggressively trying to get you to go to the PGA show, right?
Yeah.
In January, right?
Yeah.
Those nudges won't stop. So hopefully I get to meet you in person soon. So my friend from afar, Craig Hansen, thank you so much for your support and for joining us today. And an awesome, I'll say different Tuesday Traces for sure. Yeah. So it'll be either the first of many or it could be the last. And it's probably just due to me being here. It's not Mandy. We had so many questions. They were all, where's Mandy? So I'm going to get some crap for the team. And we didn't fill the swear jar. So that's another win, right? So there were probably some side bets from the team from that as well. So Craig, again, thank you. Much appreciated. And
thanks.
yeah, cheers. Thank you.